Picture this. You're watching the Olympics, and just before the 100-meter final, the interviewer asks the athlete about their goals. And the athlete says, "I'm here to win gold." Not, "I aim to run a 10.48 second 100 meter," or "my goal is to improve my time by 0.1 seconds," or "I'm just going to focus on the starting blocks and making sure that I'm in alignment and explosive." It is just directly, their goal is to win gold. And this is not just confidence talking. Elite athletes deliberately avoid turning certain goals into detailed SMART goals, and there is a fascinating psychological reason why. And today we're going to dive into that secret of how top athletes actually use different types of goals for different purposes. And if you're getting this wrong, you're naturally going to avoid setting goals in your life, and you're missing out on one of the most useful tools and instruments to get and achieve what you really want out of life. Now, here's the thing. Very few people teach this in school. The vast majority of time when we learn about goal setting in school, it's all about SMART goals. But nobody tells us when they actually work and when those things actually are counterproductive. But there's good news in that these powerful goal setting strategies from sports psychology can transform your approach in everything from your career to your grades, your personal growth, whatever you're at. These things matter. So these are the three parts of this video. The first are the three different types of goals that sports psychologists use. The second is a simple tool that I built called a goal pyramid, and I'll go through how to use it. And then the third are best practices when using goals. So grab a pen and paper or open your notes app, because we are about to upgrade your goal setting game in a way that could change how you achieve everything you're working toward. Part 1, 3 types of goals. Sports psychologists make a distinction between 3 different kinds of goals, and those are outcome, performance, and process. Outcome goals focus on the final result or achievement. They depend on external factors and competition, and thus are largely outside your control. Examples of this are winning the championship, getting promoted, achieving a certain grade, achieving a specific sales rating if you're in business. These can be motivating. They can also be potentially frustrating since the depends relies partly on others, but these are aspirational. And we'll get to the goals pyramid in a minute, but you want to start thinking about these big goals that you have for your life. The second are performance goals. And these are goals that focus on achieving specific performance standards. They are largely within your control. They can be objectively measured against personal standards. They're independent of other people's performance. And examples of this might be running a marathon under 4 hours, increasing your sales by 20%, or achieving a 90% or higher on an exam. These are more controllable than outcome goals, but they are still results focused. But they look at you as an individual and say, okay, if you're just focusing on you as an individual, your specific way that you want to show up, that's a performance goal. And then finally, we have process goals. Process goals focus on the specific actions and behaviors that you need to perform well. They are 100% completely within your control. They define your day-to-day activities, your strategies, the things you're going after, and they help you develop habits and techniques. Examples of this might be practicing the piano for 30 minutes a day, or following up with at least 5 clients or more per day, studying 2 hours each evening, making sure you spend 10 minutes playing with your child every single day. Whatever it is, the process goals are mostly controllable, but they require consistent attention to following through, to being consistent, to building those habits. And now this leads to part 2, using a goal pyramid. I find it helpful to think in terms of visual space, especially when I'm working with an executive or with a student as a life coach. When my clients start using different terms, like I feel like I'm stuck in a hole, or I feel like I'm in this space, or I feel like there's a bridge from here to there, it's really helpful to think, okay, if you're in the hole, how do you get out? If there's a bridge from here to here, what's on this side, what's on the other side? In terms of goal setting, I found it really helpful to think in terms of mental emotional space as a pyramid. And the outcome goals will go on the top. This is the big goal that you're after. I run a life coach training school, and my organization's outcome goal is to be the very best life coach training school on the planet. Is it realistic? I don't know. but it's what we aspire as a team to do. And there are times when we ask ourselves, what would the best life coach training program on the planet do? I just had someone on my team ask me just yesterday when we were talking about which projects we were and which updates we were going to prioritize. She asked the question, and it changed the order of our operation. It changed the way that we're going to look at our projects. The big outcome goal that we have has an impact on the next strategic moves that we are making as an organization. And here's the psychological secret of why these outcome goals need to be aspirational. They even need to be seemingly unrealistic. It's because these goals must have room for failure. SMART goals here do not work. They will trip you up because if you're aspiring to be only realistic, the pressure to reach the goal becomes too intense. And from an aspirational standpoint, having a SMART goal, it just doesn't inspire. If my school's goal was merely to have happy students, produce great coaches, and be financially sustainable, okay, that's great. That's realistic. That's where we are already at. But it doesn't necessarily inspire. When the numbers dip or we get suggestions or we get negative feedback, that would cause, if that was our goal, it would cause our whole mindset to shift into a fixed mindset. If your aspirational goal is merely to be realistic and go for that middle ground, when it's challenged, it invites that fixed mindset because failure is not an option. Failure carries dire consequences. And this is why a lot of people do not like setting goals because they've only set SMART goals as aspirational goals. And this is why elite athletes, they simply don't do it. They know better. They know they have to go for the big aspirational, go for the gold when you're setting those big goals for yourself. Now let's look at performance goals. These goals are largely actions that you can control. If you're thinking in business terms, these are projects that, if completed, they will have a positive impact on everything else that you do. In terms of running, this might be a specific time that you're aiming for. In a team sport, it could be the number of passes you want to see successfully completed in a game, the number of shots you take, anything that you can control that will most likely lead to you completing an aspirational goal. Now, I'm going to give you a couple seconds here to pause the video and write out that big outcome goal. What is that big outcome goal that you're looking for? And then to take another step and look at, okay, so what are those middle goals? What are the performance goals that you have for yourself? And now finally, we have process goals. Here, and only here, do you then create SMART goals. Or if you're thinking in coaching terms, this is the well-designed outcome, in the sense that you're focusing on the actual steps, the habits, the things that you can control in a day or a week that will lead to that aspirational outcome. In terms of that well-designed outcome, this is something I created and used for years in trying to tie together that aspirational goal with the habit goal that the process goal that you're trying to achieve. That outcome was the big part of the goal you wanted to achieve, the big dream, and the well-designed part was the mixture of performance and process goals that you help clients develop that would lead to that success. So here, when you're looking at the process goal, you're really focusing in on things that you can completely control. The action steps, the things that you can do on a daily, hourly, weekly basis that are most likely going to lead to the performance goal being met. And then once you get to that performance goal, then most likely the outcome goal will follow. This is how goal setting theory works. I'll give you a couple seconds to pause the video and write out your process goals. And these go in the base of the pyramid. And this leads to part 3. Best practices when using goals. And now for that final twist in goal setting theory, when you're setting goals, you want to start at the top and work your way down. We've done that. But now that you have your pyramid, now you want to, and you're focusing on working your goals, you want to focus on your goals from the bottom up. The aspirational goals, the performance goals, those recede into the background. And when you're working on, okay, these are the things that are really going to move me forward, you aren't focusing on those aspirational goals as, okay, this is what I'm doing as a present focus. Those aspirational goals, when they recede into the background, they become motivational. They become that big picture, bird's eye view type of thing. They recede into that background until you're being interviewed for the race, or you need to refocus on your strategic plan, or you're in a meeting and someone asks, hey, here's our list of things to do, but looking at this from an aspirational standpoint, what's really going to get us there? Or you just got feedback and you need to reset your perspective in a growth mindset. But on the hourly or daily, it's the process goals that become the focus. It's like you just have to put on blinders and block out everything else in your life, except the question, am I focusing on working the process? Are you taking the action steps on the day-to-day that support the foundation of the pyramid? If you start collecting enough yeses to those questions, to those hourly, weekly, process goal-oriented questions, then you're on the path. You are using goals the way elite athletes do. And chances are you will meet those performance goals, which give you the best chances to meet the outcome goals. It's just the way goal setting theory works. It's the way that putting in effort works and that growth mindset works. And once you experience it in one or two areas of your life, it's then time to rinse and repeat the process. Thank you so much for engaging in this material, and thank you for the views, the likes, the comments. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you soon with some more content. Let's make today a masterpiece.